Afternoon, everybody.
Hey, Norm!
Hey, and beer with it.
How's life treating you, Norm?
I got just ran over its dog.
Well, I remember every little thing as if it happened only yesterday. Walking by the lake and there was not another car inside.
I was in the pool! I was in the pool!
And all the kids at school, they were wishing they were me that night.
What? Yeah, I'm out of the contest.
It never felt so good, it never felt so right. And we're glowing like the metal on the edge of the night. Glowing like the metal on the edge of the night.
The sea was angry that day, my friends. Like an old man trying to send back soup in a deli.
Could be a winner, boy, I knew quite well. You got your number down.
Welcome to the 70s versus the 80s, my fellow pop culture babies. And if you ever pried open a tin of Strawberry Quick using a knife or a spoon, kind of like you were opening up some paint thinner, and this is the podcast for you. Hello, everybody. This is Wolfman Mike on the mic, and I can talk Strawberry Quick all night. I can talk Chocolate Quick all night. You know, usually chocolate kicks strawberry's ass, but not when it comes to Nestle Quick. I would guard them both as equals when it comes to that. And as always, I am joined by Brian, Spunky Comstock himself. And if you can't remember what Brian sounds like, he sounds a little something like this.
Grape's pedestrian and terrible.
And today we have a very special episode. We're talking Seinfeld versus Cheers. You know, are those the very last network sitcoms, pop culture icons that everyone remembers? And to figure that out, we brought in the biggest Seinfeld experts we could find, hailing all the way from Vermont, formerly known as Roller Girl Ethel Benzine. It's Beth. And Beth sounds a little something like this.
We could talk about the Scorpions. They rock. Scorpions, 100%. Scorpions. The Scorps.
But if we're going to talk to Seinfeld fanatics, we felt like we needed an actual New Yorker. So all the way from New York, it's the Queen of Queens, Heather. And Heather sounds a little something like this.
Nudity on the subway is definitely a thing that happens. It has happened to me more than once.
So just listen to the rest of this episode and we'll figure out if all those statements are in context or not. But after we talk some Seinfeld versus Cheers, we have a second special segment today. Beth is a giant Meat Loaf fan, so we're going to talk some Meat Loaf. And I thought it'd be kind of fun if we did Meat Loaf versus Billy Squier. And you're like, hey, wait a minute, Wolfman Mike. Meat Loaf and Billy Squier have nothing in common, nothing at all. Or do they? Let's find out. But first, let's do some Cheers versus Seinfeld, shall we?
Some days it don't come.
Guys, so we are here with very special guests, Beth and Heather. You know, I didn't want to ask you, I didn't want you guys to have to introduce yourselves, so I was just going to give you guys some icebreaker questions here. And there's no wrong or right answers. That's the important thing about it. Beth, are you Five Alive or Sunny D?
Sunny D.
That's an inside joke for the whole Steady fans there.
I've been trying to get people to call me Sunny D, 'cause I got the good stuff the kids go for. And people keep calling me Five Alive, 'cause the last guy didn't really...
And so, Beth, station wagon, minivan, or SUV?
Station wagon would be cool.
Ooh, I think she got the right
70s.
answer there, Brian. I mean, there's no right or wrong answers, but she got... Okay, so Neapolitan ice cream, do you take your plastic spoon and stick it in the white, pink, or brown first?
White.
Ooh, that's good because you get that little test. Okay. Those little tubes in the bottom of your freezer, those colored tubes that you, when you're 12 years old, you'd eat in the summertime. What did you call them at where you grew up?
I don't even know.
Because I call them ices. What did you call them, Brian?
I guess icy squeezy pops. I don't know.
We did a 10-minute segment on this on a previous episode. Yeah,
Flavor
ices
ice.
is what we call
Flavor ice. Yeah,
Flavor
that's the
ice?
brand name.
Freezies.
Yeah.
All right.
And what was your favorite flavor and what was your least favorite flavor?
I like orange of everything, and I don't really want cherry.
Wow.
Okay. So Heather,
Previous consensus was grape was the worst, but now we have cherry.
No,
in this.
grape's okay.
Grape is the best.
Grape is pedestrian and terrible.
you guys are bringing the controversy right away. So Heather, I don't know if I trust your taste after this, but are you Sunny D? Are you Five Alive or Sunny D?
So I wasn't allowed for some reason to have Sunny D as a kid, but we did have Five Alive. So I guess Five Alive, but that makes no sense. They have the same amount of sugar, but
Yeah, it's the same thing.
yeah.
And then Heather, are you? I don't think you drive, but are you station wagon, minivan, or SUV?
Okay, so as Gasper's wife, I have to say station wagon because my husband, when we were dating, had a station wagon that he inherited from his dad's funeral home, and he used to drive it around the park like he was driving a hot rod. So I guess station wagon.
I wish he still had it, because then otherwise I would have ended up in the trunk in Brooklyn when when Beth was so friendly that her and Kat invited other people to the Hold Steady concert. And guess who ended up in the trunk in Brooklyn? That was me. So station wagon would have been much better for me. Yeah. Oh, so Neapolitan ice cream. Are you going to take your plastic spoon and stick it in the brown, pink, or white first? So,
Drag it across.
No.
oh,
Yes.
wow.
Drag it across and then mix it up.
No.
If you have to eat that abomination of ice cream, that is the right way to do
No.
it.
You leave the chocolate
you.
behind.
I guess we'll allow that. And and then what did you call those little plastic tubes of color frozen things when you grew
Oh,
up?
ice pops.
Ice
ice
pops. Everybody, there's like 8 names for those things, and everybody has a
Yeah, they
different
don't really
one.
have a name.
Kind of regional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So we had a previous episode where we compared the Blues Brothers against the movie musical Grease, and it came to a strong conclusion that the Blues Brothers was the better movie musical.
No.
But we figured that we should have a female
Grease
perspective on it.
100.
So Beth and Heather, what are your thoughts on that Blues Brothers versus Grease?
Grease.
So, as a Broadway nerd, I probably should say Grease, but personally, I feel like Blues Brothers is on a whole other level.
Wow.
I
We
would go
thought-
with Blues Brothers.
See, we thought it broke down completely by gender, but
By gender lines.
No.
So we're here today. We're going to talk some Seinfeld, some Cheers. What does Seinfeld mean to? I know it's a big thing to both you guys. What does it mean to your life?
Seinfeld to me, I think I'm the only native New Yorker on this podcast at the moment.
Correctamundo.
So it always surprised me. It was always such a New York hometown type of show for me. And I couldn't understand how anybody not from New York understood it at the level a New Yorker does. And it's my ultimate comfort show. I have a couple of them, but over the years, and especially as I've gotten older, it's my ultimate comfort show above any other TV show. So that's what it means to me.
Yeah.
And you're nodding along, Beth. Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, no, I agree with the comfort show idea where it's just, especially during the pandemic when it was just like a mental health thing to just I always have it kind of just on repeat now that it's streaming on Netflix and just like kind of on an infinite loop. It's kind of embarrassing.
It's actually on in my house right now.
Yeah. Like, I think I
On
watched an
mute.
episode last night. Like when you have 20 free minutes, it's on in the background.
So now I was going to ask you guys this question. Do you think, so we're talking Seinfeld and Cheers, do you think those are the last two like network sitcoms? I mean, this whole podcast is about shared memories of pop culture. Mm-hmm. Are those the last two sitcoms that really reached everybody in a pop culture way? I mean, Friends was later, but
Friends kind of overlapped actually. They were playing at the same time, but I wasn't really into Friends, but I know Heather was.
Yeah, they were on at the same time.
Yeah. But like Water Cooler, where like you'd go to school, the day after, and everybody in like high school was talking about Seinfeld the night before. So yeah, like everybody had watched it. Oh, SNL kind of had that going on too.
I think maybe The Office would be the only other sitcom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's older. That was still, I think that might be the very last one, maybe.
Or Big Bang Theory.
Yeah. Once a
Oh,
week.
yeah.
Big Bang Theory. Yeah, a lot of people like that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, those shows were popular, but I think it was probably less than 50% of the people seen them because you'll mention them to people and they're like, yeah, I know
Right.
that show, but I've never.
Yeah, I didn't
seen
watch
it,
The Big
yeah.
Bang Theory.
Yeah.
With more choices, right? More streaming choices and more content out there. It's not like it was when there was just 3 main networks.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
And so like the thing with Cheers is it kind of was there to help rescue NBC from the doldrums of being in last place and kind of reviving the network along with the Cosby Show as a lead-in.
See, for me with Cheers, so I was trying to think back about this because Seinfeld is so a huge part of my life, for lack of a better way of saying that. But Cheers, I didn't watch until probably the last half of it airing because it was
You're too young.
It was past my bedtime. I wasn't.
Yeah, like Rebecca was there instead of Diane.
Yes,
and- yeah.
yes, exactly.
Me too.
You actually got the better years thing because I think it got better when Rebecca got there. Yeah.
I don't know. Season 1 was so good. I watched it recently. It was
Oh, wow.
every moment was brilliant, and then I feel like it fell off a little bit.
Cheers was well written the entire way, and they did do a good job with replacing characters
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
the new ones they brought in. Kirstie Alley, Woody Harrelson.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Because they went exactly opposite to the other person, which,
Yeah.
I'll ask you guys. Beth said she just watched season 1. Me and Brian kind of do a thing on here called Forever Young because you can't believe how old the people were. How old Carla, Rhea Perlman, and George Wendt were the same age on season 1 of Cheers. Can you guess? You guys want to guess how old they were?
Oh my
I bet it's something absurd, like 25.
They were the same age?
Yeah, on season. Yeah, well, I guess they would always
Still are today, yeah.
Yeah. so-
Oh my gosh. They have to be way younger than I would think.
Probably. Yeah.
That's the fun part of this game. That's why we call it Forever Young.
I'm gonna go with 28.
They were 34, which I still think
Wow.
Rhea
They
Perlman
still
looked a lot
seem
older
like
than 30.
50-year-olds. Yeah.
Yeah, I still, in my brain, they're at least early 40s, at least.
And you know, Kelsey Grammer was never in his 40s. He started, I think, his first year he was 27, which is even
Oh my
crazier.
God.
What?
And so I think he was done by 38 with Cheers. He never, and he seemed like a 40-year-old the entire run to me.
Yeah. Oh, wasn't he like much wilder than his character, like in his personal life?
Yeah, I guess his last year they could barely get him to the set. He was so he was going through alcohol abuse so bad.
Yeah.
They could barely get him, but then like during Fraser, he got clean or whatever.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
My gosh, I can't wait. So he was how old when he started?
See, I don't believe it either, but it said he was 27. But yeah, he said he was 27, and then I guess he was 38 by the time it was over. I don't think he was in season 1 though. I don't remember.
So debuted in the fall of 82.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it went from 82 to 93.
Wow.
And Seinfeld was 89 to 98, so I guess they had like 5 years that would have been overlapped.
Yeah. So,
which is crazy.
I'm trying to think of when he came in. So he was Diane's psychiatrist, and then her boyfriend was how he was introduced. Which, having only started in the Rebecca years when I was older and went back, I was like, what? Like, that's how he got... Like, to me, he was just always a regular, you know, because Diane was gone by the time I started watching it. So I was like, that's kind of gross and weird and creepy. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, and I guess I was reading the writers kind of liked when Diane left because they said it got easier. They just wrote more ensemble pieces instead of Diane and Sam pieces.
Oh, yeah, like will they, won't they?
Yeah, and it was the intellectual against the jock, and a lot of that kind of dynamic in the writing. Well written, but it was better when it was a ensemble piece.
I guess we did get the better years. I mean, if you go back and watch it, it's so classic, but it was so Sam and Diane centric.
Yeah, it really took off when Woody Harrelson joined the cast, and it started to become more ensemble then as well.
Yeah.
And I read, do you know that character's name was Woody before he joined? They said it was going to be Woody.
No.
I just thought,
Found him.
I just assumed they gave him his name.
Yeah.
Knowing him as an actor, that's the smartest thing to do. He should be named Woody in every role he ever plays.
So he knew when to answer when they said his name.
Right.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Well, George Wendt had the cameo in Seinfeld.
Oh,
So there's a little crossover, like Avengers world.
Oh, did he play himself? I don't remember.
Yeah, they were like at the Tonight Show or something, and
Oh.
That's right.
George recommended they start filming somewhere other than the bar. Cheers.
That's right. And he brings up how when they're George is all annoyed with the money that they're offered because he wants Ted Danson money.
Oh, he wants Ted
keeps
Danson
bringing
money,
up
yeah.
like they keep NBC gives Ted Danson X amount of dollars. Whether we're like you are not Ted Danson.
So that's the crossover.
Yeah.
It's the overlap.
Oh, because I had read that the NBC shows were trying to cross over other shows, and they said Seinfeld refused to do that. So I didn't know that they did that actually.
It was like one episode, but yeah.
But like they played themselves, like they didn't play their characters.
Yeah.
Oh, they played themselves. Oh.
Yeah. Although Seinfeld did cross over, I want to say an episode of Mad About You. It was that same, and like.
Oh.
There's like
I might be wrong if it's, but like it's just Kramer. It's just someone showing up and Kramer answers the door.
And then he's on He's on an episode of Murphy Brown.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But wait, is that the same network?
I don't know. No.
No, it wasn't. But yeah, they crossed over with a completely different network.
I watched too much TV as a child. Like, why was I watching Murphy Brown at like age 8?
I love Murphy
Because
Brown.
that's what we used to do. We'd watch the 4 channels that were on. Yeah.
There were no kids programming. It's like I was watching Golden Girls at like age 5.
We had no cable in my house.
Right.
Yeah, we didn't either. And I think that's part of what made Cheers so big for me was the reruns. They would run them like in the Twin Cities area. They would not have the Tonight Show on until 11 o'clock. So it'd be a half-hour segment after the news ended, and they ran Cheers in that section. And so then you started to watch the reruns and get acquainted with the characters, and you'd be looking for the new ones. And that lasted all the way until even watching it in college, where you'd have college friends that would watch it.
Yeah.
And I lost that with Seinfeld. When Seinfeld started, I was already in college, and you got other things going on. You're not watching as much TV at that time. So I'm a huge Jerry Seinfeld fan and have watched every single comedians in cars getting coffee. I don't know if I've seen every single Seinfeld episode, even though I love the show. But
blasphemy.
Yeah, I know.
That's shocking to me that anyone
hasn't seen it 400 times.
Yeah.
I started watching Seinfeld in season 1, and I got in an argument with a guy whose real life name was Kramer with a C. And he said, because it started the same time Tim Allen's Tool Time started, he goes, "That's the funniest show ever." And I think they were on opposite each other.
Oh,
and
really?
I was like, no, I go, this show is really smart and funny.
Yeah.
And Tool Time was kicking Seinfeld's ass in the year 1. But then I think we know like halfway through the series that Seinfeld was a much better show and bigger fan base too.
Takes time for the people to truly catch on to the genius sometimes when it's a little bit different. And in my defense, it's when you don't have DVRs at that time, and you can watch it on demand, and you have gotten married and have a life outside of just watching TV.
Unlike me,
I didn't see every single Seinfeld episode.
That's true. That's true.
I had to defend myself because I saw my stock in your eyes go way down.
Well, Brian, these guys are real fans, and actually they organized a Seinfeld walking tour, and they both had a big part in it.
Yes.
Heather, why don't you explain to us what the Seinfeld walking tour was about?
So in December-ish, when everybody was in town in New York for some concerts we went to for the whole study, for a couple months beforehand, Beth and I were talking about, while we're here, we should do a Seinfeld tour since we're so obsessed with Seinfeld, and go to like key sites around the city. And we even looked to see if the Kramer reality tour was still going, which I was wrong that it was still happening. It ended during COVID, like everything else. And I guess, I don't know what Kenny Kramer is doing now, but he's not doing the reality tour. So we made up our own. And Beth made shirts to go. So we all had, I'll let Beth talk about the shirts, but we went to a bunch of different places around the city. And it was so much fun.
I would 100% want to go on that if I was in New York City.
Oh,
we actually ate in the diner and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
And you ordered tuna on toast.
I ordered tuna on toast, which is George's favorite.
Oh. And what were the little sayings on your shirts that you guys wore? I know Jackson had my favorite one, but you guys...
I asked everybody to tell me their favorite, and then I used a stencil thing, and I made them this hideous yellow color in honor of Jerry's favorite T-shirt, Golden Boy. So they were really ugly.
My son Jackson, his said, I'm on no sleep, no sleep.
I'm on no sleep, no sleep.
Which is good for him. And he wore it to school on pajama day as his pajama shirt.
Sweet.
So funny.
I like that.
And then what was Gasper's?
If you look annoyed all the time, people think you're busy.
Yes.
All right, did you have one, Mike?
I missed it I had to go to my stupid job, so I couldn't.
Oh, yeah. Well.
I missed it by like a day, I think. But
all right.
I was going to get. I thought the perfect one would be I was in the pool.
I was in the pool! I was in the pool!
I think it was funny. Then you were like, well, next year. I'm like, you know what? We should do it again next year.
Next year on Long Island.
Yeah. Long Island.
Oh, my God.
That would be the
Hamptons. Gasper said his parents had a house near the Hamptons. So.
They do. They do. But we had fun. We went to Tom's Diner, which is the real restaurant. We went to H&H Bagels from the Festivus episode where Kramer was on strike.
The Nexus
Did you go to the
Universe.
Soup Nazi?
No, we didn't go to the Soup Nazi. We went to Papaya King for hot dogs.
Yes.
Well, we didn't get hot dogs, but we went there.
No, we just...
And to First and First, the Nexus of the Universe.
Yes, that was actually besides the diner, that was my favorite
part.
Oh, wow.
The corner of First and First. And then there's, what kind of business is that, Beth? It's actually called Nexus, and there's a sign.
Oh, it was some bar they made called Nexus Lounge or something.
Yeah.
At the Nexus of the Universe.
Oh, wow.
And if you go on Google Maps, it's labeled Nexus of the Universe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How can the same street intersect with itself? It must be at the nexus of the universe.
Just wait there, I'll pick you up. And Kramer, stay alive. No matter what occurs, I will find you.
You can look it up, and that's what comes up. Where Kramer is lost because he's not on the Upper West Side. So he calls First and First intersecting with each other, the nexus of the universe. And we took our album cover type picture.
We did.
All of us in a circle with the signs of the street signs above us. It was very silly.
The food at the diner was not that impressive. That's what I thought was so funny.
It was all right.
It was fine.
Yeah.
It was
It's not the interior. Is the interior?
No, it's not the interior.
Yeah.
It's just the exterior shot. Yeah.
Because I did get to go to the King of Queens, the inside of that bar that they show at the beginning. That's all I got to do.
It's right by our house. That's why.
Yeah, it's because it's right by their house.
You got the C-level tour. You didn't get the A-level tour from the year before.
So, I mean, I learned so much from New York from watching Seinfeld. Like, every time I see somebody has to go move their parked car, they're like, I'm not going to use my car. I got the best parking spot. That just reminds me so much of George. And
that's a real thing. That is
a real New York thing.
That is a very serious thing. And even on our block where there is no alternate side, so that you have to move alternate side, meaning okay, from this time to this time on this day, no cars can park here because street sweepers are coming in, so you have to move your car. Parking is such a precious commodity that my next door neighbor is obsessed with the parking spot in front of our house to the point where he's retired. So the second somebody moves their car, he runs out and takes, and he has 2 cars. So like one's in the garage and one's on the street, and he will take his car from the garage, park it on the street, go get the other car, move that one into the garage just to hold that parking spot.
Oh my God.
Because people just park and that's it. You could drive for hours. And in Manhattan, like where they live on the show, it's 100 times worse. 100 times worse.
I can't imagine having a car and wanting one in New York City when you could just take public transit.
I don't drive.
Yeah.
So that was a realistic portrayal. Heather, do you have like an example? What was the least realistic in New York? I know people in New York get mad because they'll be like in Central Park and then 5 minutes later they'll be like in Long Island or whatever. You know, they get across town really fast. Was there any unrealistic New York things in the show?
I would say the willingness to drive to Long Island to pick up your friends from a party.
At 2 a.m.
Although if you're Kramer, you might be like, yeah, sure. But so like giving it to that character, I'm trying to think. It's pretty. I'd say more so that they'll have like these scenarios that are portrayed as like an everyday life thing. Be like, that doesn't happen, and it does. But I'm trying to think of something that they get really wrong. Well, you can't buy a gyro on a subway platform anymore. You can't buy hot food, but you still can buy like churros and fruit and
On the platform?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Some people are like, no way. And I'm like, that's like the best churros ever. It's Subway churros.
Subway platform churros.
Yeah. Yeah. But so I guess that, yeah, you're at Queens Plaza, you're not going to get a gyro.
So like Beth, do you have like some favorite episodes of all time?
I like the one where they're just in the Chinese restaurant waiting for a reservation. That's a lot of people's favorite, and I think it's my favorite too. I think that's my number one.
Did you know that the NBC pushed that one back because they thought nothing happened in that episode? Like it was supposed to be, it was like series, or it was like the 11th of the year, and it was supposed to be like the second one or something.
Oh wow! No, I guess.
Yeah, and then it got to be like one of the most popular episodes.
Yeah,
ever.
I love that one. Anything that's like a play where they're just in one space.
Yes.
You know,
they do that better than almost anybody else.
Yeah. What's your favorite, Mike?
My favorite, I like the contest.
Yeah. That's really funny. I watched that recently. I'm like, yeah, people like this for a reason.
Because I don't think they played it. They didn't play it like in prime time for a while because it was so controversial.
So risque.
Yeah. Risque, yeah. So it was hard to really see it back then, but now I think it must be on Netflix or something.
Yeah, it is. It's in the regular rotation.
And they show it all the time, Comedy Central or whatever. It's always on.
Do you have a favorite, Brian, or
Malva?
Malva, I just watched that one last night. It's a really funny one. Yeah.
It's well done.
Yeah.
So when that first aired, I didn't get it. I didn't either.
I was like a high school kid. Yeah.
I was just like, I was doing all the rhymes, and I was
it still doesn't exactly
one.
rhyme. I think it was a bad choice, but
I was like, what? Dolores? Oh, it's Dolores.
I love things where they go so far for just one really good joke.
Yeah, the whole episode.
That's why that's my favorite episode.
And then it cuts out.
Yeah.
My favorite one was where they started tying. I think it was the first episode where they tied it all together at the end, where he's like, where the sea was angry that day, my friends. Like the old man sending back soup.
The sea was angry that day, my friends. Like an old man trying to send back soup in a deli.
Because then he went and found Kramer's golf ball.
Yeah.
And that was the first time they tied like the stories together.
All the story arcs come together.
Yeah,
but you have to watch the whole thing to get it. Yeah.
So many times I watch Seinfeld, I'm always surprised, like, oh, this, and as well as I know, oh, this episode is the same as this episode.
Same as this one.
Like,
yeah,
this story happens in this one also.
At the same time. Yeah.
Yeah. I think my favorite one is, and I think it's because of my son Jackson, because it's his favorite. It's become my favorite is the Kenny Rogers roaster.
Jackson loves Kenny Rogers.
It's so funny. It's so funny. But the other one too would be the Subway.
I like that one too.
When they're going to
the 4 different places they're going. Yeah,
nudity on the subway is definitely a thing that happens. It's happened.
Is it really?
It has happened to me more than once. So yeah,
God, they just take the clothes off while you're on there, or already.
Yeah, well, no,
with everybody
like,
at the other side of the car, like.
Well, for me, it was the platform. Was like when the guy was completely naked, and he was standing next to me, waiting for the train. And I looked over, and he started taking off all his clothes.
Oh my God!
And he all the way down to his socks, left his stuff on the platform, jumped in the track, and just started to walk. And he looked completely with it. Completely with it. And I was like, until he wasn't, just like this guy sitting on the train with Jerry Seinfeld. But and there's always like forms of nudity going on. You can't ride the subway without that not happening, which sounds completely insane as I'm saying it.
They were so good at pushing the episodes. I think one of my favorite ones was based all about Jerry was making out with his girlfriend during Schindler's List. They based a whole episode on that. It was just brilliant. Yeah.
Well, what was he supposed to do? His parents were staying in his apartment.
Yeah. It was dark. It was the only time they had alone. Yeah.
I find it weird now watching it when like they're like, oh no, so and so lives with their parents. Not George when he's unemployed, but like the fact that Jerry was dating somebody who still lived with their parents. They seem so much older to me, like when it was airing, when I was watching it. And now I realize they are so much younger. We talked a little about that before. They are so much younger in those episodes than I am now.
They're like early 30s. Like, yeah.
It's
I saw George was 31 when it started or something.
Yeah.
No, he was. We did that Forever Young with George Costanza, and I guess 38 because he looked like he was over 40, and he was actually 29 in the first year.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and he was in Pretty Woman 2 years later playing like the yucky older guy, and he was only like, what, 30, 31 in that. So,
That's so weird. Oh, his poor hairline. That's what does it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes you look a little older.
Yeah.
One thing I liked about Cheers is how, I don't know if you guys remember the beginning, they would show like a different episode that got cut out, or else they would just write like the beginning before the music was like just a short little punchline. It had nothing to do with the main episode.
I don't remember.
I kind of like that. I don't know.
Oh yeah, you're right. You know, I totally forgot about that. Yeah.
I don't think Seinfeld ever did that, where the ending would be different or the beginning, or I don't think so.
They do that on Kim's Convenience. They do like a little skit before the music plays.
Yeah, they do. I guess maybe when he, in the earlier seasons, I guess you could count his stand-up. You know, he would start with and then they phased that out. I forget what season, and then they stopped.
But then sometimes he'd do like a little conversation with George before the music played, and it seemed like it could have been stand-up, but they're trying to make it like a little skit,
But they had the room to move to like try different things. Their show would never Seinfeld would never make it now. I don't know if even Cheers would, because you have no time to establish an audience anymore, especially on network TV, because there's so much competition.
You can't have growing pains in the beginning.
No.
Well, even in the 80s, the first year, Cheers was rated 74th out of 96 shows.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
But then the characters all went on to the summer talk show, made the rounds of the talk shows, and they were doing the first season in syndication, and it picked up the second year. I think it ended up being in the top 10. And then it had Cosby Show debuted in 84, which was as a lead-in. And Cheers was like, I think in the top 10 pretty much every season after that, except for maybe one or two.
Oh, so Cheers predates the Cosby Show?
Yeah, by 2 years.
Wow.
That's crazy.
That's because little me was allowed to watch the Cosby Show.
Yeah,
but not Cheers.
I have to admit, I watched the Cosby Show too.
Yeah,
I watched Cheers as a small child.
Cheers was all earth tones, and then Cosby was like bright and shiny colors.
Did anybody ever go to the Cheers bar in Boston?
No.
Me and Gasper went. I had a friend that lived in Boston, so I had been there a couple of times, and boy, are they so completely annoyed by that still being a thing so many years after the show
Oh,
is
wow.
over.
40 years later.
Yeah, locals are just like, oh man.
They should be proud of it.
Like, it's still there. Of course it's gonna go. I mean, it's not the same inside.
I thought this was going to say the inside's not right?
Then they had another location then where there was the real one that you see the outside of, and then I think in Faneuil Hall they had one with the interior.
Like a pop-up,
yeah,
design.
kind of. It was there for like a few years though, and I went to that one, and I don't know what came over me and Gasper. We bought mugs, we bought shirts. We were so excited. We still have. I don't know about the shirts, but we definitely still have the mugs. And they're like, well, do you want your beer in like a regular mug? Or do you want your Cheers mug that you can take home? We're like, Cheers mugs! We were so happy.
Old merch.
There's something that happens to all of us when you get into one of those, nostalgic touristy trap type places. It's probably why Disney still makes so much money at Disney World in Disneyland.
I bought a shirt at Tom's Diner.
Yeah, she did.
Oh, wow.
I live here.
And I didn't know that the song Tom's Diner was also based on
Yes,
that.
also based there.
On the same place.
Susie and Vegas song.
On the corner, I am waiting at the counter for the man to pour the coffee, and he fills it only halfway. And before I even argue, he is looking out the window at somebody coming in.
I know Beth is a huge Meat Loaf fan, but then I just heard Heather has a little Meat Loaf or a couple of Meat Loaf stories. So why don't you start us off, Heather? What?
So it's so weird. Like everybody, I love Bat Out of Hell. I even like Bat Out of Hell too. While we were talking before this, like leading up to doing the podcast, like I realized I've met him twice and I've seen him live twice. And my dad is like a big Meat Loaf fan, so I guess that kind of makes sense. But one time, so I was on a flight from Los Angeles back to New York, and Meat Loaf was in first class, which I thought was kind of crazy. And I didn't have a cell phone at the time, so I had to borrow my friend's cell phone. And
Flip phone?
Yeah, kind of. It was like a Spider-Man phone. It was... Anyway, it was like a brick phone, and she put like a skin over it that made it look like it was obnoxious. So I called my dad. I'm like, hey, Dad, you're not going to believe who's on my flight, but Meat Loaf is on my flight. And he screamed so loud that everybody in our like aisle could hear us. So when we got off, I'm like, I'm not going to bother him, and he's in first class or whatever.
Yeah.
So there were delays and all these issues. We're in JFK in this totally abandoned part of the airport, and there's Meat Loaf and his guy and whoever he's with. And so I'm like, I'm going to go up, whatever. So I walked over to him. I'm like, hey, can I have your autograph? My dad would die. And he goes, well, I'm not going to sign an autograph if I'm going to kill your father. Which I thought was very funny. And I was like, no. He's like, of course I'm kidding. And of course I'll sign. And whatever random paper I had. Fast forward at least 10 years later, his daughter Pearl is a musician. And I like her at the time. And she had said something vague on social media about pizza and her dad. And I happened to work in the Village, and I got the reference of what she was talking about, what pizza place. So I'm like, I'm going to go down there.
Stock Meat Loaf.
It was Celebrity Apprentice. They were filming Celebrity Apprentice, and I walk over and I'm like, why is Jose Canseco and David Cassidy making pizza? And then I look in and there's Meat Loaf like working the register. I'm like, this is the weirdest thing ever. Weird. And they're like, this is a reality show. I'm like, but this is Celebrity Apprentice, right? They're like, no. And I'm like,
yeah.
I'm like, this is really, then Gary Busey walked out. It was that season. Right. I'm like, this is really bizarre. And they're like, well, are you going to go in and buy some pizza? And I'm like, yeah. And I'm actually in the episode for like a half a second, like half my face or whatever.
Nice.
And I walked up and I said, "Hey, I put it together with what Pearl said that you're going to be here." And he starts going,
"Oh."
And I'm like, "What?" He goes, "She wasn't supposed to do that. I could have gotten in huge trouble." I'm like, "Oh." And I was like, "But this is it's not, no. And that was my other interaction.
Aw. Nice.
That's my story.
Yeah, those are pretty good stories.
Thank you.
And so now, Beth, you're a huge Meat Loaf fan. You got me listening to him again, listening to Bad Out of Hell, and I've been having a great time listening to it ever since you brought it back up again. What does he mean to you, Meat Loaf?
I don't know. I kind of talked about it on the Hold Steady podcast. We were talking about Meat Loaf, and I just think it's a great album, and I really love Bad Out of Hell. I feel awkward now. I'm like, I don't know. My story's not as good as Heather's.
But I didn't talk about the music at all. I just talked about my weird life.
Talk about what you know.
Weird life.
Do you have a favorite song?
Probably Bad Out of Hell, the title track. That 10-minute ridiculousness.
He has a bunch of 10-minute long songs.
Yeah, I Would Do Anything for Love seems about 10 minutes long.
Yeah. What do you think about the music video where he's doing like a Beauty and the Beast thing now?
Oh, I love that. It's so like back when music videos were so over the top and
real, yeah.
Yeah.
A real thing.
But like November Rain for like 20 minutes. Like,
yeah.
Into Meat Loaf for another 10.
Yeah, I think he's the only one that could pull that off. Anybody else would have been like silly doing that.
Laughed out of the, yeah.
But he's so committed to everything he does. I think that's his secret. Yeah. He just goes for everything.
Earnest about it.
He's so theatrical.
Played in, I was going to say, he had roles in plenty of movies and shows.
Hair and Rocky Horror.
Yeah.
And we talked about it. He's on Fight club.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He's in the Spice Girls movie as the truck driver. Really? I don't know where that came from.
Because when Mike said we were going to talk about Meat Loaf, I was going to be snarky and come on here and say he's like poor man's Van Morrison. And then when I looked into it, his first gig ever was opening for Van Morrison.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
I love Van Morrison, too.
I would, if you're ranking Van Morrison against Meat Loaf, I'd be all team Van Morrison.
Yeah, that's a tough one. They're so different. Probably Van Morrison, yeah.
But there would be no Meat Loaf without Jim Steinman.
Yeah, who wrote those, I think who wrote the whole first album or whatever. Yeah. And that's what I kind of gave you guys some homework. I made you listen to a guy you maybe don't know, but Mr. Billy Squier.
I didn't listen. I just know the stroke.
Okay. Well, he was on top of the world from 81 to 84, and then he had, what's his name, Steinem? Like, produces his second album. And
Billy Squier?
Billy Squier?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, because that was the connection, I guess, because Billy Squier really admired Meat Loaf. And then I was thinking they're so different because, like, Meat Loaf is a 70s classic rocker, and Billy Squier is totally 80s rocker.
Arena rock, yeah.
Yeah, arena rock. But then I figured they kind of, do you guys see any similarity? They both go for it. They both go push it too far, go over the top, which I love. And Billy Squier's different because he's a rocker, but he's kind of like a pop version of Rush where you can hear every lyric, you can hear every note. He's, the opposite of Nirvana, which would be big 8 years later after that. So I don't know. Do you guys see any similarity between the two? Or is it just me?
I don't feel like I'm enough of a Billy Squier expert. I want to Google what else he did besides the stroke.
I feel like
you'll recognize his songs if you live in corporate America or just in America, because those songs, at least, were on FM radio.
Oh, Lonely is the Night. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Lonely is the night when there's no one left to call. You feel the time is right. Say the writing's on the wall.
My kind of lover. All right.
Yeah.
My Kind of Lover. Yep, that's a perfect. And if you're like me, whenever I heard Billy Squier on the radio, you know, because like we were talking, none of us had. I didn't have MTV because I lived on a gravel road, so I didn't see the names. So I just I would hear him on the radio, and every time I heard Billy Squier on the radio, I go, "That's a really good song. I should listen to the Scorpions more often." Because I mean, he had Rock Me Tonight. The Scorpions had Rock You Like a Hurricane. They both had the black curly mullets, so I'd get them mixed up. And it's talking about Rock Me Tonight was a great song, but then Billy Squier made a music video for it where they told him they go dance, you know, for like an hour, and we'll take 5 seconds of it, put it in the music video. But then they put the entire thing in the music video.
Oh man!
And MTV put it on 20 times a day, and it was.
I think it was a little before my time.
Yeah, I guess you think he would have checked. You think he would have seen the final cut before they aired it on MTV, but I guess his wife or girlfriend seen it and they said, "Ooh, this might end your career." And he's like, "It's not that bad, is it?" And then it kind of ended his career.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Because it was so bad. Yeah, because you remember the episode where Elaine danced in Seinfeld?
Of course.
The little kicks, yeah.
Yeah, if she was doing it in like in front of her mirror on her bed and wearing like for a while there, he had like a pink tank top on. He's like, "Oh, it's perfectly good, but I'm going to take it off and put a lavender tank top on, and then I'm going to go ride in my bed for a while." That's kind of what it was like. It was kind of like Elaine dancing for like the whole video there. So kind of ended his career.
I don't think I'm that familiar enough with Billy Squier to compare him to Meat Loaf.
No. I just know it, you know, it's like playing in like an Adam Sandler movie. Like
I do hate the
Shirley
stroke.
Madison when he shows up.
But I hate
He's sitting on his Trans Am like with his...
The Stroke I agree with you, Heather. It's his most famous song, and
that's pretty much all I know.
It's not his best one. It's probably like his 5th or 6th best song. Yeah,
gonna have to do a deep dive.
Yeah.
Well, I just when you told us to listen to Billy Squier and Meat Loaf before this, so listen to songs, got reacquainted with him because obviously it was around in the early 80s when Arena Rock was taking off. I was listening to a podcast and it was just, they kind of go in depth on kind of a somewhat obscure music group, but it was about Steve Earle, and there's like 7 episodes and talking about his many lives and everything like that. And one of them he met in a bar she was like standing next to Billy Squier, and he went over and kind of like wooed her away from him. And I'm like,
oh wow, Mike
just had us like talking about Billy Squier, and then here he shows up. His name is dropped in a different podcast I'm listening to.
I haven't really thought about Billy Squier like at all until
I guess I missed it. We were supposed to be doing homework. I'm really sorry.
No, I just said listen to the first minute of his 5 songs, and you go, "Oh yeah, I know that song. Oh, I know that."
Oh yeah, I do. But
and it was like me. I was like, "Isn't that the Scorpions?" I was like, "No."
We can talk about the Scorpions. They rock.
It had that beginning
Scorpions,
of hair rock
Squire, Scorpions. I got them mixed up.
100%. Scorpions. The Scorps.
Yeah, I was doing dishes and just listened to like the top 5 songs on Spotify play, and it's like, yeah, I know enough now.
Right. You're an expert.
Yeah, I remember. I was there the first time around.
He was supposed to be the next Bon Jovi, or he's supposed to be bigger than Bon Jovi, but then he danced like Elaine in that music video. And that was it.
That ended it for him.
Yeah. And I would do anything for love. Oh, I would do anything for love. I would do anything for love. But I won't do that. No, I won't do that.
And that's it for another episode of the 70s versus the 80s. Keep it classy, my babies. This has been Wolfman Mike on the mic, reminding you to wash your hands after you wipe. I'm signing off for Brian Funky Comstock.
Grapes, pedestrian, and terrible.
Beth, all the way from Vermont.
We can talk about the Scorpions. They rock. Scorpions, 100%. Scorpions. The Scorps.
And the Queen of Queens, all the way from New York, Heather.
Nudity on the subway is definitely a thing that happens. It has happened to me more than once.
But I won't do that. No, I won't do